You just got wrecked.
What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. So today is Tuesday. Hope you're having a great start to your week. However, unfortunately, Bitcoin is still down almost 3%. We're still sort of sitting around that $7,300 level. And of course, as I go to upload the video, Bitcoin drops yet again. But that being said, everything in this video is still completely relevant. In fact, we spoke about the possibility of this literally happening in the video today. So definitely stick around and check it out. And I also have some really important topics I wanted to cover as far as like risk management, crazy altcoin speculation, and everything else. So if that sounds good to you, definitely stick around and continue watching the rest of this video. What exactly is going on? Well, unfortunately, we were following a nice uptrend, right? We were having nice bounce on the supports, but we kept getting rejected at around the $7,586 level, 7.6K level. After 1, 2, 3 rejections, finally on the fourth time, we got close enough to the end of the wedge and we fell. But now the question is, was this Bitcoin's last stand? Was this basically the last opportunity to have that pump, and now we're just destined to go down to a 5K Bitcoin, a 4K Bitcoin? Should we throw in the towel? Should we call it quits? Well, I'm not gonna lie, we are very close to some extremely critical levels that we do have to go over, so we are gonna talk about that today. But even more insane than the Bitcoin price action is this Matic Network dump that happened. If you guys see from top to bottom, this was almost a 73% dump, guys. So what is going on with this? Was this manipulation? We need to talk about it. We're definitely going to talk about it later on in the video, but I also want to take the opportunity to also go over risk management, talk about altcoins and how unbelievably speculative they are. I mean, literally one day it's up, 10x, the next day it's down 50%, right? So this is definitely something I do want to focus on in today's video. Also want to talk about a few bits of news today as well. One being the fact that it is going to be yet again more difficult for US traders to trade. We do have Huobi closing HBUS, and also we do have North Korea saying they want to tax cryptocurrencies. So we have some good, we have some bad. That being said, we do need to make a video, so thank you so much for coming back to the channel. If you guys are interested, we do a Ledger Nano-esque giveaway every single Monday. All you gotta do is drop a comment on any video, and if you're not subscribed yet, well, what are you waiting for? We do this literally every single day. Let's have a look. Bitcoin dominance at 66.8%. You can see we have fallen back below the $200 billion market cap currently, so all right, not looking too great today. Having a look, we do have Chainlink up 8%, Steam, Horizon, Digix, DAO, Maker, Molecular Future, Nexo, Singular Collateral, TrueUSD, and Paxos as well. I think that's DAI or whatever that is down there. But anyway, that being said, having a look, currently we are noticing that it was getting of course, this website never loads. It was getting a little bit bearish over here. We do have shorts up to 53.25%. So currently, market sentiment somewhat bearish today, okay? You can see the volume is still respectable, quite low, sitting at around 333 million. Very low for Bitcoin. All right, 613 for Tether. Essentially looking at Bitcoin, we're just going to go through this really quick, guys. We are still in this descending wedge. We are still being supported essentially here by the legacy, actually the legacy trend line, is still supporting us. We wick down to it. So essentially you could see, unfortunately though, we have fallen below the $7,380 level, which was very crucial. It was the support, and now it is acting as resistance. So very short term, we do risk falling all the way back down to $7,000 if we don't get above the $7,380 level. But you can see that we did put in the golden cross on the weekly. Now, it looked like we were a little bit optimistic leading into it. However, currently this week has been a red week so far. So will this golden cross actually hold us up this time like it did in the previous bull run, or should we just throw this indicator out the window and say probably not this time? Well, here's the thing. We are still in this upwards trend. We are holding intact to the giant upwards trend. I do consider this little thing down here to sort of be a little bit of a bear trap. But if you look with the exception of that, we did actually get supported on each one of these levels. So we could potentially try to ride this thing out maybe for a couple days. You could be looking for a breakout December 12th, even at the latest. However, if we do fall out of this to the low side, then yes, we do risk going back down to that $7,000 level, even potentially retesting 6.5K. But Having a look right here, you can see that the trajectory for Bitcoin is clearly logarithmically up. However, currently we may need to sort of settle down and retest the mean a little bit. But having a look at this, you could still see a $70,000 Bitcoin possible by March 1st of 2024, $170,000 Bitcoin possible by September of 2028. But that's a long time away. Why don't we zoom in and look at it a little closer? Well, currently what I consider to be one of the most significant supports that we have right now is the 200 daily on the 300 on the 3-day. Now, the reason that I want to point this out is because you can actually see that it actually supported us kind of here at the end, right before we had that drop. And once we fell below it, only a couple weeks later, Bitcoin essentially had that massive plummet. But you could see right here that it has been supporting us. So currently that is sitting at around the $6,996 level, or pretty much that $7,000 level. So short term, if we are able to stay above this, that would be good for Bitcoin. If we do fall below this, then you are basically looking at a major trend change. For example, what are some of the levels we could look at? Well, like Crypto Hamster said, let's keep it simple. As a bear pennant, right? Let's just say that's what it is. If we were to basically follow this measured move, essentially you are looking at a $4,600 Bitcoin. Is that possible? Well, anything is possible in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency land, but I just want to make this as simple as I possibly can for you. Basically, these are the 2 points that we had from the top of the peaks, and this is what we have from the legacy historic trend line, which we did actually touch. So currently you could see this is the trend. If we are to fall below this, then that's very, very bearish for Bitcoin. And currently that is sitting at around 6,600. We could go down to retest the 6.5K. And I just put the halving in here just so you guys could see, okay? Which actually, interestingly enough, the apex for this giant wedge actually looks for a breakout at around August 28th of 2020, interestingly enough. But that is what I'm looking at, guys. And if we do break this trend, then the trend is no longer our friend. And if we do go lower, then yes, we would be looking for lower levels for Bitcoin. But currently, as long as we maintain this trend, then no, I'm not going to get bearish just yet. But let's talk about this Matic dump. My goodness. Now, the thing about this, first of all, is, you hear manipulation being the number one thing thrown around. Now, we do know that crypto is the wild, wild west. So you can see right here, one thing I do want to point out is the volume on this move was incredible. I mean, you could see this volume clear. I mean, we hadn't had volume like that since way back here on the initial pump. So that's the first thing that says to me that most likely what it was probably some kind of, let's say, like a whale or something that probably started to sell, and then, all the stops got hit and triggered, and it just created a massive panic. But I do want to look into this, so let's see what's going on. Basically, if you scale up what happened to Matic, it would be like someone dumping 750,000 Bitcoin in 30 minutes and taking us to $2,500. That would be pretty detrimental. And if that happened to Bitcoin, I would assume that most people would probably never come back, right? But this is common in altcoins. We have seen this before. We've seen altcoins get hit with these crazy, crazy dumps and spikes before. For example, Digitex futures had 2 times this happen, okay? We had this massive pump and then dump again, and then we had the second massive pump and dump, and it has currently gone up in its Bitcoin value. But I just wanted to point out that these things do happen. Now, before we get into it, before we talk about why it happened, I do want to just mention that if you guys have been watching my videos, I did mention on December 5th, which surprisingly, this video didn't really get a lot of views, unfortunately. But that being said, you can see that I did mention that it was starting to get a little bit high. We did get above this purple level, which was the peak of the candle, and I did take profits. And I'm not showing you this to say I told you so. I just want to show you this because I do believe that a lot of people tend to just leave profits on the table and they don't really get any benefit out of the trade. But super quick, I will just play this really quick for you guys, and then we're going to talk about it. I'm going to be fully transparent, guys. We are very close to the double top here, so I did take half of my profit, and I left my other half in. Now, it doesn't mean I don't believe in it. I do believe in it, actually. That's why I've kept my, Matic tokens for so long. But I do want to take a little bit of a profit. This is pretty insane. We're up like 9x or something like that. So basically what will happen is if we dip down to some of these supports, I'll buy back in. And if not, I'll just ride it out. But you do what you want. Don't copy me. I'm just a guy on the internet. Nothing is financial advice. So obviously, guys, I have to give the disclaimer that nothing is financial advice, but obviously when you have something that is up as crazy as Matic was, I mean, this thing was literally up I mean, from bottom to top, let's see what Matic actually peaked. From bottom to top, Matic was up 1,238%. Now, this is the thing. We were actually anticipating some kind of a major pullback. This happens with all altcoins. I'll give you an example of an altcoin that's actually doing really well today, which is Chainlink, right? So if we hop over here and have a look at Chainlink, you could see basically right here, Chainlink had its initial pump, and then it had its dump from peak to bottom, okay? It dumped about almost 90%, which was pretty crazy, right? But then from that point, it actually got back up to the same height again. But if we actually move over here, look at this. From top to bottom here, it took a 47% dump. So these 50%, 40% dumps are common. However, we don't usually expect to see them in, one giant move. And that's what got a lot of people basically to start saying that this might have been manipulation. So we're going to dive in because the Matic blog, they have actually updated on this. So you can see right here, they were basically being accused of dumping their tokens, right? Now, the reason that I personally don't think that they did that, or at least if they did do it, that's unbelievably stupid, is because why would you want to do that? Why would you want to crash your own project, right? If you were going to sell, you would just put in slow orders over time and just let the book slowly get eaten up. So that theory right there doesn't make any sense. You can see CZ did say they were investigating the data, but it's already clear that the Matic team had nothing to do with it. A number of big traders panicked, causing a cycle. Okay, we've seen these flash crashes happen before. Essentially down here, you can see it was Samuel JJ Gosling. He said he was the one that kind of said that they thought that they transferred all this money. Then it basically turned out he was wrong. He did his math wrong. He said he wanted to deeply apologize for providing an inaccurate claim. It's okay, buddy. We all screw up sometimes. But, that being said, a lot of people were saying that maybe they thought that this is what happened. And you can see Eric said it's disgraceful that people take random tweets as gospel in an attempt to destroy a project. The actual truth, in the past 50 days, they have moved 290 million Matic, not 1.4 billion. In fact, you can even verify that if you want over here and just have a look yourself. You can see the ERC20 token transactions. And if you want, you can zoom into the actual account right here and see that they still have over 1 billion Matic tokens. So that is easily verifiable by just looking at the data. But, some other people were speculating and saying, well, what caused the dump? Having a look right here, we do know that there is a token release schedule, right? I'll drop this below if you guys are interested. This is from Binance Research, and you can see that they do have tokens that do get released over time. So was this essentially, just the dump, or what was going on? Well, here's an interesting thing that was pointed out. Now, I didn't know about this because obviously if you've registered on Binance as a US citizen, they don't let you trade margin, right? But having a look over here, you can see Crypto Michael said, honestly believe that introducing margin on low liquidity coins like Matic and Raven would only cause the coins to drop even further than normal. Spot books, a dump would have been there, but seeing the insane wicks on them, I don't think including margin was a proper idea. Once again, we have the Wolf of All Street saying the dump we saw on Matic is likely an example of what happens when you allow high leverage trading of illiquid assets. This can cause a cascade of liquidations and stop losses, fueling an epic drop. And I just want to point out one more thing that we spoke about. This was a while ago. When did this come out? This came out November 13th, and Willy Woo pointed out CoinMarketCap lists 4,978 coins. It's probably more by now. Here's the top 50 by volume. Below the top 40 doesn't even register. Basically, investors want liquidity at entry and liquidity on exit. Very few coins have credible liquidity to be good investments. And you can see right here, essentially you have Tether, Bitcoin, Ethereum representing, kind of around a third of Bitcoin, and then Litecoin representing about half of Ethereum. And then after that, it essentially falls off a cliff, right? We have XRP, Bitcoin Cash, EOS, but this is the problem. And this is exactly why these margin trading, websites, for example, and I'm not trying to single anyone out, but FTX doing indexes of, shitcoin indexes. I mean, guys, these coins are highly illiquid. Nobody should be trading I mean, even Ethereum is a questionable coin to be trading. Really the only one that you should be trading, and you shouldn't be trading at all, really, is Bitcoin. So I just wanted to point that out moving forward. I think that has a lot to do with it. Now, I didn't even know this was a thing personally, because like I said, I can't even trade on Binance as a US citizen, and I definitely can't trade using margin. So I definitely think that was a big problem moving forward, but also just the fact that these are highly illiquid, highly speculative. And the point I was trying to make the other day was saying that you need to take profits. This coin was up 180% in I think just a couple weeks. It was up 10x from the bottom, guys. So this is what I'm saying. And when I say take profits, it's up to you what profits are. I don't know. Everybody has their own definition of a profit, right? It could be, for me, it's Bitcoin. I want to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible, right? So I take profits in Bitcoin. You may want to take profits in US dollars, maybe. Maybe you want to cash out and put it in your bank, right? But I think it's very important, and you should always definitely, number one, take back your initial investment if you're up. And number two, you should definitely take a profit if you are in profit, especially when you're up 9, 10x. That's crazy. So just wanted to kind of mention that, guys. Do I think that this is going to kill Matic? No. Do I think it's going to harm the price? Absolutely. This is going to be, probably something difficult to, bounce back off of, though. I do have to say, though, whoever bought the bottom, if you were able to get this wick down here, you would actually be up about 69%. So that would have been a great trade for anybody that, counter traded that. But they did have one response, which I will basically mention before we move on. And essentially, that was the COO, Sandeep. He said this is not something to be scared about in the long term. It's just that in the short term, it may have hurt a lot of people in the community. Now, some people were saying, why don't you guys do like a coin burn or something like that? They were basically saying, no, we're not going to reduce the circulating supply. They will not be implementing a buyback program where the team would buy back the tokens, which some would argue could help improve its value. He downplayed the idea, arguing that this could make the token appear to be a security, leading to increased regulation. So, yeah, I mean, if the team does a buyback, that could maybe insinuate that they're doing work for you to increase the price, and that would make it a security, right? So that's the situation moving forward. But we do have some other news I do want to go over. Actually, it's not really news. It sort of ties in. So this came out from Bloomberg a couple days ago, right? December 6th. And it said best performing cryptocurrency powers the controversial exchange Binance. Now, basically, they were talking about the BNB token basically doing better than Bitcoin, right? It outperformed Bitcoin for the year. However, currently, if you do notice, Binance is down 50%. It had the massive run up and it had the massive pullback. Now, it did coincide with Bitcoin's price as well, but you also have to look at why tokens are pumping. Really, what is the reason? Sometimes it's the flavor of the month, right? Sometimes we're just pumping, scaling solutions, or we're pumping, like privacy coins, right? We used to have those flavor of the week pumps, but sometimes it's due to a very specific thing. And I do believe that one of the reasons why Binance coin had been doing so well was because of the IEOs. We know the ICOs had basically died. Nobody was getting involved in them, but everybody was getting into the IEOs, right? And you needed BNB to get into these, just like you needed Ethereum to get into the ICOs. Remember, people were buying Ethereum at any price. They didn't care what the price was. They didn't care if they were buying Ethereum at $80, $200, or $1,400, because they only needed to hold the Ethereum for just long enough to send it over to the ICO, right? Binance also had a similar thing, but they implemented the lottery, and they also implemented the holding it in order to, get more tickets and all that other stuff. Well, after that craze sort of started to die, there wasn't as much of a demand, right? So you do have to be aware of why tokens are essentially pumping, and also when it's just kind of gotten out of control and it's time to take those profits, right? But listen, I mean, if this was a bad trade, or if you were in Matic, or if you've been in any of these coins that have, had these astronomical pumps and dumps, you do start to get a little more risk adverse over time, and understand why, for me personally, after doing this for 3 years, my portfolio is well over 90% in Bitcoin. In fact, my Matic holding only represented about 5%, a little bit less now. But, I wasn't that upset. I did take my profit, and the hit that I got hit with, didn't really affect me. So that's basically what I wanted to say, guys. You know, smarter trading moving forward, if that's what you're looking to do. But I do need to talk about a couple other things really quick. So Huobi's group, the U.S. subsidiary HBUS, is closing less than a year and a half after beginning its operations. The exchange will be ending its trading services December 15th. Don't panic. You have until January 31st of next year to withdraw your funds. But yeah, essentially they say that they opened the door for a possible return in the future, stating the cease in operations will allow them to return in a more integrated and impactful fashion. So news of the closure follows just a month after they froze accounts of all US-based clients, telling them instead to use HBUS. So yeah, guys, I mean, just another slap in the face basically for US citizens. Just one more thing that the US cannot participate in. We do also have Bitcoin options and cash settled futures now officially launched on Bakkt. I'm not going to tell you that that's a good thing, because cash settled is not a good thing. It goes against everything that Bakkt basically was claiming they were going to do, which was be physically settled. But nevertheless, this is the reality of the markets. This is what happens in the traditional space. And for everybody that was screaming for that institutional money, well, here it is, guys. So that is that situation moving forward. We also do have the Saga Monetary Technologies have finally launched their SGA stablecoin. Now, this is kind of interesting because we saw the controversy that was going on with Libra, right? You had all these different monetary authorities around the world basically saying that unchecked stablecoins could have wide and negative implications, right? So Facebook Libra was going to be tied to a basket. Now, they're saying that they actually have two different goals. Their original is to start off with a basket, eventually to become a free floating asset on its own. So at launch, it's going to be a stable coin. Very interested in seeing how they pull this off. A smart contract issues new tokens to meet the buyer's orders and then burns excess tokens as holders sell them back. It stores all proceeds with a network bank, the identity of which will be announced prior to launch. So they did say that there will always be enough in the reserves to allow the contract to purchase the SGA tokens, although the price of SGA is dependent on the quantity of SGA in circulation at that time. However, you guessed it, not for the US, right? In November, congressional representatives introduced legislation that would classify managed stablecoins as securities. The legislation is far from passing, though. If, for similar legislation was to get passed, it would be more ramifications for stablecoins. This uncertainty means that Saga is staying out of the US, and this is also why Matic does not want to do the buyback, because they don't want to get involved with these situations moving forward. But ending on this Korean news, basically the Korean government is preparing legal tax tools for tax capital gains for the sale of crypto assets. Specialized legislation to target digital asset deals is expected to arrive from the tax season for 2020 now. Some people might think this is a bad thing. Some people might think this is a good thing. Regardless, the fact that they're looking to tax it rather than ban it, in one hand, yes, it is them trying to control it. It is them trying to, put the boot down. But at the same time, it is also them embracing it. That being said, no more anonymous trading in Korea. So you will have to essentially basically finish your fill out KYC. But you can see, like Ryan Selkis says right here, the only reason more people aren't using Bitcoin as money is because our overlords want to tax and surveil every single transaction you ever make. So let me know what you think, good or bad for Bitcoin, if they were to tax it. I mean, personally, I think it's inevitable. I think that eventually these countries are going to realize that they can't ban it, and the only option you have is to actually, play along and try to see if you can tax it, right? So that's it for me today, guys. Crazy day in the markets. My goodness, the Matic dump. But you know what? I do think that it's times like those that when they do happen, they provide those sort of wake-up opportunities like, hello, guys, this space is crazy. This place is speculative, and, things could go to zero. So yeah, I mean, basically that's that situation moving forward, guys. But that is it for me today. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. I wish today's video was a little bit more positive, but, between the Matic dump, Bitcoin dumping, a lot of negative sentiment right now. This happens at the bottoms of, every market, but, let's have a look and see where we're at right now. What are we doing? Just kind of hanging around the 7.3 level. So guys, there is that potential possibility we could touch 6.5. If we do fall below the legacy trend, a wick to 6.3 is possible, but any lower than that, and you're literally talking about an actual change in the market structure. You're talking about a change in the trend. So we'll keep our eyes on it, but no reason to become bearish just yet. That being said, I freaking love you guys. I do wish this video was slightly more positive. Maybe tomorrow we'll make a really positive video. But yeah, guys, if you're interested in a ledger, drop a comment below. Every Monday we do give it away, and that's it for me today. So thank you once again for coming back to the channel. I freaking love you guys. You're the reason that I do this every single day, even during these terribly crazy trying times. That being said, that's it for me. My name is K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. Until next time, stay crypto, and peace out.